Hello, and thank you for joining us today on my NAVS channel. NAV stands for Narcissistic Abuse Victims and Survivors. This channel is meant to, of course, empower you and help you survive, get out of any situation that might be endangering you or your family, and also educate and bring more awareness on this issue, this problem. I meet a lot of people that absolutely don't know what narcissistic abuse is still, and even misunderstand what domestic violence is. So these episodes are really meant for education and awareness purposes. So please, of course, subscribe to the channel, comment below, share the videos. It helps us a great deal to share the messages and have more awareness out there. So thank you again, and I'm really happy to have Cassie today on our show. So hi, Cassie, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. So thanks for taking the time to be here and willing to share with us. It takes a lot of courage and willingness to talk about this, and hopefully it helps others. Of course, that's the whole purpose of this of these episodes. So thank you and welcome today.
Thank you.
So I want to know, so tell me a little more about you. What was your experience? How did it all start?
So my experience was I dealt with a covert narcissist, and so the very beginning of our relationship was very much a charming kind of thing. I was like under a spell, really. There were like red flags here and there, like some drug use and some lying and some, blaming me for the drug use kind of things. And I got really I got a little defeated, but in my mind, I had a baby with him. So I wanted a family. And I kept saying this charming person that he put himself out to be, I thought that person deserved all the patience in the world. And it didn't turn out until later, like August 1st of 2020, that I really saw who he really was.
How long were you in the relationship before you really noticed that, something was really off?
So we had a full relationship with no breaks from January 3rd, 2019 to 2020, August 1st. And so that was all fine. And then I was really August 1st that it was like the flip of a switch.
And what happened exactly that you realized, whoa, there's something bad there?
The day I had just had gallbladder surgery 5 days prior, and I was not feeling really well. So I had my best friend over, and I decided I was going to go to bed early. And he had bought me roses that day. And I was really excited. It was really sweet. And I went to go lay down. And he comes in the bedroom. And he just looks at me and says, "Can I see your phone?" I had nothing to hide. So I showed it to him. He starts looking through it. Goes, "Oh, really?" And then just gets up and calls me a whore and leaves. I cried. And I begged him to stay. I was like, I didn't cheat. What are you talking about? This is not real. And he really wasn't so horrible that night. It wasn't I wasn't used to it. I went out to go smoke a cigarette because I was really visibly upset. And he goes out in the yard and he was like, "Go back inside. Go back inside. I don't care if you're smoking a cigarette. Go back inside right now or you're not going to have a place to live tomorrow."
Huh. So did it really switch from day to night? One. Wow.
It was a second. And then all of a sudden he was this whole different person. I never got the other one back.
And so how long did you have the baby prior to that?
He was 6 months old when this happened.
That's interesting. So you were together potentially not a year and almost a year and a half. Everything looked fine, and then suddenly everything went sideways. And then how long after that did you decide to move out of there?
I was in an on and off relationship. He kicked me out the next morning. He had to go do numerous drugs. He told me he ended up finding a girl that night, and what, just the next morning he came up to me and was like, I need the truth from you. And I was like, I didn't cheat. That's the truth. And he was like, that's not the truth. And I'm not going to keep you here if you're not going to tell me the truth. So it was kind of like a no-win situation. The only truth he was willing to hear was his truth. And so I took off with my best friend, but things just kept escalating. Like he kept asking me to come back. And so I would come back. But like that third night I came back, like things got real scary. Like I sat down on the couch and we were talking, but he was just calling me all these mean names. And he'd never done this before, but I like sat on the couch and he like had me backed up against the couch and he was this close to my face and he was screaming so loudly, like I was shaking. And while I was crying my eyes out, it turned him on. And so like it was like a really big thing that he wanted to make me feel like he thought I was. He wanted to treat me like I was a whore. And so that's how that went. And then he threw my phone as hard as he could against the wall, told me to get out. While I got out and grabbed my phone and got in the car, he slammed my door so hard that it jammed and I couldn't open the door anymore. And as I was leaving, I pulled around and he ran as fast as he could up to the car, stopped the car and was like, I'm going to get you for running me over.
Wow. And so do you think the drugs just increase the level of his type of behavior? Do you think it's just
paranoia? I watched the paranoia my whole first year. He had an ex-girlfriend that he swore was following him around. He would put me in danger and the baby by taking pictures of 50 license plates on the interstate because he swore they were all following him around. And he thought that people were in our security cameras and in his phone. And he was very, very strongly paranoid. And so like that delusion just got worse. And then I became the delusion. You know what I mean? Like the kind of switch people.
The target, yeah. You took everything on. He pointed everything on you because you were the easier target. And so, how is it? So you left once, you left twice. When did you finally decide that I can't do this anymore? I have to stay away for good.
Well, I went back for months at a time, 2 more times. And during those time periods, I realized he was playing a huge game with me. And that game was, let's pretend that you sleep with people when I'm not in the room. 10 people a day. If he walked out of a room, I was apparently sleeping with somebody. I'd brought somebody into the house, snuck them in through the windows, done anything I could to get somebody in the house. And when I tried to prove I wasn't, by like staying under his nose, he would purposefully lock himself in a bedroom or like come up the stairs really, really slowly because he thought I was talking to somebody outside. So that way, when I was like, there's nobody there, he could be like, oh, they got away. He purposely makes sure I was alone so he can come out and say these things because the game was he wanted to make me as crazy as he possibly could because he wanted custody of the baby and he knew he wasn't going to get it unless he made me out to be crazy. And it worked because I threatened suicide in November of 2019 and I attempted in February of 2021. No, it was not 2020 November and 2021 February. And so like he had really got me to my breaking point with all of this stuff and I just couldn't handle it any longer. Like the game was so bad that every time I left, he still played it. And I never actually got away. It was like living in hell. Like I could go away and he would call me 10 times. He would FaceTime me. What are you doing? Oh, I see you right there. You're pretty bold thinking that you can do what you're doing while on the phone with me. And like I'd go to work and he'd be like, you're not at work. You're sleeping with people. You've got 10 people waiting online for you to actually go and entertain them right now. Like I couldn't get away. And so I had done something like, I guess like it was a drug, but it was pretty much something I shouldn't have been doing to cope with the pain. And I ended up losing the baby that way. And I kind of handed him everything he wanted. He got the baby. He got, like, he's destroyed my life. And then he pretty much, like, he has full custody of my child now, and I only get to see him 1 week in a month. He controls my whole entire life, and it's pretty much, he doesn't control it anymore. I want to say that, but he controlled everything to the point where I was angry and sad and miserable when I left on October 11th. I went into psychosis for doing the same thing he was doing, because I figured it was going to keep me sane. Like, if I was awake and under his nose all the time, then how could he accuse me of doing anything? And so I ended up going to psychosis, went to the hospital. He told me I was a horrible mother, and he's gonna make sure I never see my child again. And that was the last time I heard from him. I haven't talked to him since.
That was in October this past year.
Well, this year. Oh yeah, this past year.
So that's pretty horrible. So how long now has it's been that he took away your child?
December 1st, he got sole custody. He had
And
him since July, though, because that was when I had everything happen in the court systems for my bad decision in January, or April is when I got arrested. It was a coping skill.
You think that, yeah, we all try to cope differently, and, there's no judgment at all in anything that you're saying, because we all, like, I can understand your pain. I mean, and it's difficult for people, when we hear our conversations, quickly explaining in a few minutes, just how terrible it can be, but people don't understand that the pressure of a narcissist abuser is ongoing 24/7 from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to bed. And it's like we cannot think for ourselves. And it's just this ongoing chatter until they break us. And
Yes.
so I totally feel for you, because I know exactly how it feels to have someone just yapping at your face and in your ear 24/7, and you feel kind of obliged to comply because you have, in this case, a child, or you think, well, he was such an amazing person, this person will come out back to me one day, if only I'm good, or if only I do as I'm told, or if only I comply, or if maybe it's true, maybe I am that person that he thinks, or I'll prove that I'm not that person. But eventually they break us. Eventually that, it's a kind of, it's like those, we hear about those Chinese prisons where the prisoners have no choice. They hear this ongoing sound. They cannot sleep. They cannot eat. And at the end, it breaks you mentally, physically, psychologically. And the only escape you think is either, to go into drugs or suicide, or just to get out of the tremendous amount of pain. So I totally understand, and I feel for you. I mean, it's pretty horrendous, especially to not have your child anymore. So what are your plans, or what can you do in this situation now? Is there any recourse?
I've got a lot of plans. Like, I used to call what happened to me, I called it mental torture. Like, I swear that's what it was to me, because it was psychological warfare. A lot of the things, like, they make us go crazy. But the plans that I have are going to be, like, I've already gotten a job, because I had to go to rehab right after that psychological thing. I went for 90 days in therapy, and I've been sober 120 days. And thank you. And I'm not doing anything but going to work and going to a place where I'm, like, renting a room, and trying to get myself into an apartment, because that's pretty much the only reason I have. Oh, and I also have to get the CPO, the child protective order that they gave me when they found me. Like, that was a whole scenario. It was a very big deal, and I take full responsibility for not being the mom I should have been. But under the circumstances, I didn't know what else I could do. But so I have to get my CPO changed to say I can see him unsupervised and I'm allowed to have custody. And then I go to court for revisitation, rehashing custody that's all in the same boat. And that's going to happen when I get my court dates. And I have a job and I have a nice tax return coming in. So that way I can get an apartment and a car and my license back. So that way I can be a fully functioning adult again. I have more confidence than I've ever really had before. Like this past, every time I left, like I had no confidence in myself. So I would continue to run back because I couldn't like stay with my mom because she couldn't afford to take me in because they were living in a motel room. And like it was extra money for them to take care of me. So I kept running back to them and I wanted my family so badly. So this time around, I actually feel like I want to do this. I have confidence. I can be on my own. I don't need him. This trauma bond is broken, essentially. So I have lots of different plans, but I am excited because I feel I can follow through this time.
Yes, and there is hope, my dear. And I'll put a link for all the viewers, but I'll also send you a link to an interview that I had recently with a young girl that has also a very young child, had a child, and so it will give you more hopes because now she's in a beautiful place. She has, and she was homeless with her child. So you can really, I think you'll feel connected to her story, but it's more the aftermath where she's now that is very positive because now she has a really great guy in her life, and they're happy with she's getting back her child soon because she also gave away the custody of her child while all of this was happening. So she's getting back her kids. So I think you'll connect, and she's also in the Facebook group, so you'll be able to connect to her. And I think it'll be for you. I think it'll bring you more hopes in what can happen once you get all your ducks in a row. And I'm sure it's going to happen very soon for you. And I'm glad that, you rebuilt yourself because that's and I feel for you. And I really hope that people that watch can understand just how hard it is. Like we use these very familiar words, that now almost lost their meaning. When we say psychological warfare, it is really that. I mean, it's not just words up in the air, and I totally understand what you're saying. I remember that at some points, I told one of my friends one of the things that I lived through, and she kind of brushed it off like, yeah, it's nothing. But actually, it's not that one thing. It's the accumulation of the same kind of thing over and over and over again that eventually gets us so deep into our nervous system that we're triggered at everything that the person says, and they know how to manipulate us so that we actually completely lose our minds, completely feel like we're crazy, and that we can't control our emotions anymore at all. And at the same time, we do become dependent of this emotional terrorist, if we want to call him like that, because we feel like we have no other choice, whether it's financial choice, because often they isolate us with financial difficulties. They put us in financial jeopardy. So we cannot do anything else but to be with the person that did that to us. They isolate us with our friends. They isolate us from our family. They isolate us from even geographically. They isolate us from people who we can run to. And eventually we think that we're the only person on the planet with this problem and we are at fault. And eventually we start developing shame and culpability for things that are not of our own. So I totally understand how you feel. And I think you went through the hardest part. I think now you're on the other side of the mountain. I think it's going to go downhill from now.
I still think about him sometimes. It still hurts my heart when I think about all the trust and love that I put into somebody who I don't think ever loved me from the very beginning. I think that it was all a charade. And from the pleasure I saw in his eyes, or like the emotionless, it was either he had extreme pleasure, or he was, because he was smiling, he would like go to pretend to hit me and then smile and laugh about it, or he had like no emotion. Like one time we were in the middle of talking, I'm crying, he just reaches over and scratches the crap out of me right here. And then later on tells me another person did it. And it's kind of like the person, like I was just so upset that I gave so much time to him and that I didn't get anything back and that I wasted the opportunity to have a family. I love my child. I love my child more than anything in the world. I'm sad that he has to grow up in the same lifestyle that I did. Parents outside the car screaming at each other, because we'll never get along. And I don't think that I can't do no contact forever. I'm eventually going to have to talk to him. My ex is already pulling the whole, you don't call your child. And so you're a horrible mom. You're abandoning him. And so I have to figure out something, but I am too scared to talk to him. Not only because he's a charmer. And so like, he talks to me and like, I immediately feel like I want him back. But also because Levi does not need to see me cry. I'm sorry I'm using his name, but I feel comfortable. And you, but he does not deserve to see me cry. He is so used to dad yelling that the one time I was on the floor hovering while he was in my face yelling and screaming as loud as he could, he wasn't even upset. He was smiling at me because he saw me on the floor. And when I'm on the floor, I'm always playing with him. And then once I screamed because my nervous system went to overload from the screaming. You know, when you're that close, it just gets really bad. I screamed. And that's the only time, that's when he started crying, because he doesn't understand. I don't get mad. He's used to me crying, so he doesn't get upset by that. But like when I get upset and mad, that's the only time he cries. And so like he doesn't deserve to see me like that any ever again. He deserves to see me happy, like the mommy that I should be, and I know I am. And I get so excited that I have the opportunity to live life over again. Because when I sat in that whole hurt, crying every day, we're reliving everything over and over and over again. Like it was like I constantly felt like I was still there. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, I'm not there anymore. And I just, it got better. And I didn't do anything other than cry and keep telling myself I don't need to go back. Like I don't think that there is much of, besides research, there's not much of a cure for this kind of pain, but time will make everything better. And I think research too, because the more you know about what happened to you and that other people are going through it too, the more likely you are to stick and stay with staying away.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think counseling can help. I think groups like the Facebook group I opened, or groups where you can, talk to people who have had the same experience, so that at least you don't feel crazy. You can read other stories, you can hear other stories. That's why I created this YouTube channel as well, is because I'm thinking the more, survivors can hear the stories, the less they'll feel like they're the only ones who have lived that. And then with the comfort of knowing others have gone through it, others have survived it, and others are thriving, have passed through all of this and now have a fabulous life, and know what did they do to get there, right? What was their kind of, what are the breadcrumbs? What did they do to get to that stage? I think will help everybody, will help you and everybody to know, well, it's possible to have a life after that with someone that's normal, that's a good person that actually really loves, that's not a psychopath or a sociopath, but actually has real feelings, and learn to trust again and learn all of that. It's a relearning that we have to go through after. But you're so young and your baby is so young that I think, you have plenty of time to have a wonderful life after.
I'm pretty sure that, I guess like I got real excited when you said meet somebody, because like I kind of started talking with somebody yesterday, and it turns out that he's the exact opposite of what I always have experienced. And I was like, oh, like it's exciting to meet new people because you don't just get out of these relationships, like you don't just go and then everything's fine. You have trauma, you have CPSD, you have all these things, but then you get through that and you've changed into this person that's like a butterfly, because you came through and you made it through the stink. And then now you learn from the experience. Nobody should ever have to go through this experience to learn something. But if you went through it, at least you can have the opportunity to say, I know what I need. I know what I want now. And I know never to just let myself take anything less than what I deserve.
Exactly. And I think that you're right on point, and so if you had one advice that you'd like to share with others, what would it be? What would you give as an advice?
Keep playing the mental game where you tell yourself that you are stronger than the narcissist, that you can make it through, because I think that mental game is very important. It's not easy, and I don't want anybody to think that you just like it's going to be easy, because when I told myself it was going to be easy, I failed. You know what I mean? I want to know that everybody knows it's kind of hard and it's going to be difficult, but you're not alone in feeling those feelings. Like everybody's going to feel the hurt and the pain, and we're all in this together. We have a common bond.
Yeah, that's true. And you're right when you say that, it's difficult, but we can be stronger than that. Mm-hmm. Because, and so I appreciate that advice. I think it's going to help a lot of people to just remember that they're stronger than the narcissist.
Mm-hmm. I believe that you have to be stronger, because when you have empathy, you're not only feeling your feelings, you're feeling theirs. And you still manage to come out the sweet person who doesn't want anybody else to hurt anymore. And so you're doing your part and helping other people too. Like you came out like a better person, because you know who you are and how you want to help other people. It's an amazing thing. I love watching it.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being here with me today. It warms my heart. I hope that we get another call later on, maybe in 3-6 months, and see how you have evolved, how things have changed with your life. It would be nice, I think, for everybody to see, what happens like 6 months from now, and have another call, and hopefully you have your little baby with you by then, and it would be nice, I think, Yeah, I think it would be nice.
I'll go ahead and schedule that with you.
I think that would be a nice goal as well, mm-hmm. right? It would be a nice goal to say, well, 6 months from now, we'll have this other chat where mm-hmm. everything's changed. Now I have my apartment, my car, my kids, my home, and maybe someone even in the picture. So. Mm-hmm. It's a nice positive goal to have.
Yes. And I'm very proud of how far I've come now. So every step that I do is like a huge milestone, like renting a room from somebody, and having like a roof over my head and having a job has been the biggest blessing of my life, because for a year and a half, I wasn't social. I couldn't socialize with anybody. I couldn't have a job. So it's control over your life. And that's a very big thing when you don't have control. So I'm so excited for like when everything looks good and like everything is where I want it to be. But I just remember that there's a plan in place that I don't know about. And that
exactly. It's one day at a time, and you let God lead the way.
Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of let it go and let God.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much, Cassie. I really, really appreciate you, and thank you everybody for watching this. Please share the videos. Please subscribe, because of course it helps us bring more awareness, potentially save lives, potentially help people that are currently in a situation not even knowing that they're living with a narcissist covert or other forms of domestic violence. We often think that domestic violence is physical, but 80% of domestic violence is mental. So please remember that. Please comment also if you want to be on this show, be interviewed as a victim, as a survivor, as an expert. Please just comment and I will send you the link to book an interview. Thank you again. Thank you, Cassie. I really appreciate
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. Thank you.